After 7 years of waiting, Blue Protocol is finally here, and we can finally be Kirito in our MMORPG. And it's a predatory pay-to-win mess. I had a lot of fun in the CBT, and don't get me wrong, if you want to play this as a casual MMO, I think it's a great game for you to enjoy, play with your friends, however you want to interact. But the game has some systems that are so predatory, malicious, and pay-to-win that I just can't get behind this game and the developers for what they've kind of done. Can't find myself invested in it. And today I'm really going to be covering what makes this game so pay to win and predatory and why it's so disingenuous in the way it presents it. And I think I'll start. It was day one of my closed beta, and I was running around. After 7 years, Blue Protocol is finally here. Let's have some fun. I finished the main story, and with nothing to do for the day, I look at the menu and I see a wish system. I look, I click, and I see it's cosmetics. And I'm like, finally, right? If you're going to do gacha and you want to do it in an MMO, just make it cosmetics, right? People who are going to will no matter what. Don't make it pay to win or other things, and just profit off the people who want to pay a lot of money to get cosmetics. And I was willing to get behind that. Little did I know at that point of my day one that I did not know anything about the levels of predatory and pay to win, and how what I chalked off as, okay, well, they're doing cosmetic gachas, I guess that's fine, was actually not only is this cosmetic gacha system worse than most gachas in terms of its predatoriness, it is not the only system of gacha and pay to win in this game. And after that realization, I really hoped for the global launch they would have changed something, but they didn't. And for those main reasons I'm going to go over today, we're going to explore how pay to win and predatory this game really is. And the place to start, I have a PowerPoint here I'm going to go through, is to really look at the currencies possible in this game. There's 4 main currency types. And there's 2 main distinctions. There's bound and unbound currencies. We'll see rose orbs and lunos. Unbound rose orbs are only obtainable through purchase, right? You have to spend real world money to get them. They can be exchanged 1-to-1 for rose orb bound, so you can make any unbound rose orb. You can spend it on any rose orb bound purchase that you were thinking of making. And you'll see where you use unbound rose orbs in a second. The other thing here to note is unbound luno. So unbound luno can be used to purchase mats, wilds, pretty much anything in the trading center. So as you can see, this game has a trading center, and to purchase things in the trading center, you have to use unbound luno. There's ways to get it in the game through a guild and other ways, but generally the big way you'll get it is by farming mats or getting materials like drops that are unbound that you can list, and then you can collect the unbound luno for it to then go spend and get the bound version. Cool. Bound luno is used to advance your skills, right? So as you can see, as you get to advance these, upgrade these, you'll see it costs luno, and you'll see this across the board. Different areas you'll have to spend luno to do different progression things. Cool. So that covers at a high level what they do. The last one here is bound rose orbs. They're used for everything else: mystery shop, weekly shop, additional progmat. So to understand what that means, you come here, you see this mystery store. Well, you really want to buy these, right? Cool. It's going to cost you 320 bound orbs. So generally, you really want to buy advanced skill books, right? To advance your character level. So generally, a lot of your bound orbs are going to be going into these mystery stores, right? And if there's any fashion you want that can use bound orbs that you like, you're going to spend your bound orbs on getting that. Now, where do you spend your unbound rose orbs? Well, the difference between bound and unbound really comes into play. Let's starting here in this cosmetic gacha. Going back to that story of the day one where I'm like, okay, whatever, it's cosmetic gacha. That's all there was in this game. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try pulling for this mount. I'll look sick in the CBT. It'll be a lot of fun. So I go over and I go to make my purchases. I don't notice this bound icon. I don't know what bound rose orbs are. It's my first day. Literally, I've not interacted with any of these currencies. And I assume, like any other gacha, cool, they're giving me double what I paid for in my first purchase. So I'll do that. I drop the $50 one. I'm like, I'll hit in 6,400, 6,600 rose orbs. Let's go over and start pulling, right? Each pull costs 150. Let's see what I hit. do a 10 pull. It's 1500. Do another 10 pull. That's 3000. And it's grayed out. And now I can't do any more 10 pulls. Why is that? Because in this game, there's 2 cosmetic banners for these. There's an unbound version where if you get this drop, you can go ahead and sell it in the auction house for Luno. And there's a bound version, which has its own pity, which only uses unbound wish tokens right here. Bound wish tokens and bound rose orbs. And if you get the drop here, you're not able to list that drop on the market, and it is bound to your account. So let's just dissect that for a second. When we look at the types of banners, right? The cosmetic bound banner will give you a mountain costume if you go for either one that you cannot sell and has its own petty system. And the cosmetic unbound banner will give you a mountain costume that you can sell that also has its own petty system. I've never in my life seen a gacha where your first time top-up bonus, so let's say I'm pulling for a character, I get the premium event, the premium character tokens, right? And I want to buy those with my spent money. And my first time top-up purchase currency can only be used on standard banner. I can't even use it on that advanced banner. That's exactly what this feels like. So right off the rip, that was a big bummer. But you know what? If this was all that was in the game, sure, they want to do this. This is like their way to make it pay to win. Cool. But it's not only. When we come over to Trading Center, and this is already pretty egregious, right? If you do unbound pulls, right, with rose orbs, and you get the costume, you can now come over here and sell it for 4,352,000 unbound Luno, which you can then use, right, to go buy your shield advanced books, right? So you can advance your skills. You can use it to buy wills, right? So you can buy 3 or 4 wills here, right? So you're trying to S3 or S5 or S4 a different will. Cool, you can come over here, buy copies of it now, and we'll get over to what wills and imagines are in a second. You can also use it to buy the mats to craft wills. So we'll go over that as well. You can also use it here. So you can see there are growth items you can then buy, right? Using that unbound Luno because you sold your drop here. So it's already one aspect of pay to win here. It's unfortunate, but if it was only this, you know, it would be fine. The cost around getting one of these mats right here, you'll see is 165 USD. It's 1200 rose orbs, 80 pity, hard pity, and then 150 per pull. So that's 12,000 rose orbs, and the closest you can get through this spend is 165 USD to get 12,684 rose orbs. So remember, 165 USD to get one of those things. And here's where it gets really scummy. You click here, as you can see, it only shows you 2 banners. It doesn't show you my good friend Mason over here. And if you come and talk to Mason, you'll see there is a 3rd banner. And arguably the most important banner to your progression is this Will Wish banner. Why? Because this is your weapon in this game, your light cone. It is what you'll use to augment your character. And it is a banner that is not accessible through your menu and cannot be purchased in the auction house or anywhere. The wills can only be acquired, these premium human wills, right? They can't be acquired through killing world bosses or anything. They only be acquired by pulling on this banner. Okay, so there's a hidden gacha banner that's not accessible through your menu, that is core to your progression, and the strongest banners or weapons on this banner are not accessible any way other than gacha. Meaning, to get this, you will have to pull and either get lucky or hit hard pity at 80 times to pull the will, right? This human banner. Well, let's look at what happens if you go ahead and you pull. Well, as you can see here, I got really lucky. And on my first pull, I didn't pull one of the humans, but I pulled the legendary SR on my first pull. Cool. You know, you think I could equip the weapon? No, because you need mats to upgrade your weapon. Okay, so let's look. Sorry, you need mats to craft your weapon. That's where this Imagine Craft comes in. Not only do you need to pull it, you need to come over and you need these mats. Now, I showed you these mats in the auction house before, but these mats are obtained through your exquisite material chest. There's a few other ways you can get it, right? And I think getting your first 10 through Monster Hunt Boss, like the game gives you 10-ish or 12-ish, you know, you can, as a free-to-play in a reasonable amount of time, get to 15 to craft. But the main way you'll get them, and as you try building your second character, is through your shop, right? Trading, you can actually buy this selector for exquisite materials in the store, right under colorful store, for 400 rose orbs. So keep that in mind. One mat costs 400 rose orbs, right? And one will here, and we're talking about these premium ones, costs 80 pulls roughly. One pull is 150 bound rose orbs. Now let's look at what imagines are in this game. So imagines, as you can see here, are these different abilities or active effects skills from mobs that you can use to get not only a passive increase, right? This one gives you 800 mastery, but some sort of active effect. And you'll start to build your kits or characters around some of these effects. For example, I did a build in the CBT where I managed to get Frost Ogre, which gives me break efficiency, and Void Ogre, not Void Ogre, is it Void Ogre? Sorry, Mighty Colossus, which also gives me break efficiency. And by combining these two together, I was a shield knight that was trying to break boss bars. Cool, it was a lot of fun. So these become an integral part of how you approach your character. As you can see here, you can have 2 battle imagines equipped. Let's look at some of these premium battle imagines. The first one we can look at, right, is Arona. Summons Arona and revives up to 4 nearby teammates. Awesome. And like any weapon, you can S5 this. You can go all the way to 5 copies. And the difference between that is the CDs. So you have more uptime and these passive effects. You can see here. At S5, you're getting 15% intellect, 15% strength, 15% agility. So just severely more powerful, right? A huge support effect, but also just that passive effect is really strong. The most egregious example, right? So she'll let you do content where people die, make it a lot more comfy. When we look at Tina, she kind of revolves the game around her. She gives you a 60% CD decrease, right, at tier 1. At tier 0, it's, I think, 50%. And she has a CD, and you get a passive effective increase. At S5, right, 100% CD decrease for 20 seconds, 15, 15, 15, 100 second CD. So this, and it's for your team, starts to revolve certain builds. Certain characters become absolutely cracked because they get a 20-second window of 100% CD reduction. So these premium weapons are locked behind the gacha and have crazy effects. To make it worse, and I honestly couldn't even believe this part, right? To actually upgrade these gets insane. If we go over to this next section here, we can look at what this means. You can pull 5 copies, right? You can S5 your weapon. Okay, to craft the first version, it'll be pull will plus get the mats, and to advance it, you need another copy of the will and you need the mats. Okay, when we look here, 1 Tina, just the original craft, is going to be the Tina will plus 20 mats, right? So we're looking at 12,000 orbs to hard pity Tina and 8,000 orbs to get the 20 mats. As a free-to-play, you may be able to get to 1 Tina if you get lucky, but the amount of time and effort it takes that the other things are sacrificing, it's just not feasible. And when it comes to advancing Tina or getting to later versions of Tina, and this is where it gets super insane, S5 Tina gives 100% CD decrease. Gives 15 intellect, 15 strength, 15 agility. It is absolutely insane how powerful this is. And what's more insane is to get the next advance here, right? So to S1 it costs 30 mats. To S2 it costs 40. To S3 it costs 50. To S4 it costs 60. And to S5 it costs 80 additional mats. This is not 80 in total. This is first you spend 20, then you spend 30, then you spend 40, then you spend 60, then you spend 80. As a free-to-play, this is never happening. These banners last for, as you can see here, 91 days. So presumably after 91 days, they release new story, they release new human characters, and they put them on the banner. So as a free-to-play, you will never, S5, not even S1, S2, any of these characters, right? Because you need to imagine in your build, you'll never get around to doing that. So you finally managed to pull that. Cool, you managed to craft. Now these whales can advance it. So let's look at the cost. And I honestly couldn't believe it, of fully advancing one whale. And I couldn't believe these numbers, right? The fact that the mat cost to go from S4 to S5 is 80 is insane. So the total cost of an S5 Tina is 12,000 orbs, right? For hard pity times 5 because you're pulling it 5 times. And then 400 times the 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 amount needed for each advance. What it ends up becoming is 172,000 rose orbs. 60,000 for with the whales, 112,000 rose orbs for the mats. When you come over here and we look at the store and the exchange rate, if you take these numbers and you divide them by 100, it gets to around 77.6 rose orbs per 1 USD spent. We're looking, and you just divide that number, we're looking at 2,211 USD to craft one S5 Tina. Now, I know people in the comments, it doesn't actually cost that. You'll hit early, or you can craft it using the yellows or dismantling. I know the cost could be lower. You have to make 2 imagines, so the cost for making your whole build will be expensive. I know there are ways this cost is probably a bit lower, but it's still in the thousands. It's still 1,500 even if you get lucky. And this is what the cost is if you're hitting hard pity. And comparing apples to apples, this is the baseline cost. Now, people will say you don't need an S5, Tina. You don't need this, you don't need that. And sure, but the fact that this exists, that this discrepancy of power exists, and as a free-to-play, you will never catch up to this level of power, makes it hard to design a game. And why it matters is that if someone's spending this much money, they want content to use that power on. Now, even if the content, the harder content that they allow whales to play on gives the same rewards as the easier content, as a free-to-play or an average player, it's not fun that I'm not able to do the hardest content because I can't whale enough. It's not about the rewards, but it's about the experience. You want to do the most difficult content in MMO, you want to brag, you want to be a part of that world, and when so much power is locked behind these imagines, which is locked behind a gacha system, which is absurdly expensive, you can see how this goes from an MMO that's trying to, build a community, a world, a casual MMO, to a very greedy and predatory mess. You can see here, it's insane, this will system, and you want 2 imagines in your slot, right? So imagine doubling this cost to 4,400 USD, or going for a gold one that costs you like 3,000 USD in total, right? So absurd price. And then after the 91 days, when they release the next human imagine, it happens again. And after they release the next human imagines, right? And they want to make content to promote that. You're never catching up as a free to play. It's not happening. And there's a 2-tiered system now. There's a tier of content that only Wills can do, and a tier of content that only free to play can do. The fact that that exists, and the gap is so large between the two, means that as a free to play, eventually, I think it'll come to pass that the game is just too pay to win. The last thing I want to mention is how they handled CBT refunds. So if you made a CBT purchase, right? And this is 17 days ago. Not 17 days ago, but I guess it's 17 days from the server started. It's about a week into the game now. On day 1, this was actually like a max cuck simulator. You had to go to their CBT lookup site and submit your user ID. Then they would manually, through mail, send you your purchases up to 10 days after launch. So you're telling me, and also, obviously, you don't get the top-up bonus that you spent here. You don't get that at launch. You'll have to respend whatever you spent to get that top-up bonus of unbound rose orbs that you'd use on whatever. So, this is just malicious incompetence, right? The fact that the people who are willing to spend money on your CBT are being treated like this. And the reason you do this, right? Let's call it is how it is. If you're willing to spend on the CBT, you're probably willing to spend and launch. And if it's taking 5 or 6 days, you're just going to say, fuck it, I'll just spend again, right? So you'll spend again, and then you'll get your CBT money. And now, because the first 5 days are the most lit, everyone's talking about it, and you want to look cool, that FOMO, that wanting you to be a part of it. How many people spent again, right? How many people said, fuck it, I'll spend? It is absolutely shameless that they didn't have a better way to do this. I can think of so many other ways to do this. It is malicious incompetence, and it is just extreme greed. I ended up getting mine 7 days after. I haven't claimed it because I haven't had any interest in playing the game because of some of these things. But just this, the cherry on top is awful. For 7 long years, Blue Protocol is finally here. And because of these predatory systems, this pay to win nature of the game, and the deceptive and malicious incompetence of these devs, much as I wanted to really love this game, and everyone I think is waiting for that MMO, anime RPG, the reality is that this is a pay to win mess. It's a shame. Thanks for watching. Feel free to debate me in the comments, come on my stream. I'll be making different videos on analysis for, I don't know, random things I watch, giving my feedback and thoughts. And I'm still part of a guild in this game. I might play casually here and there, but I really don't think I can find myself making content for this game or committing to this game how I plan to because of the nature of the predatory and pay-to-win systems. Thanks for watching. See ya. Sure, I remember exactly what the cost of match increases are. You can find it. Right, let's say you do that. I think when we go here, it goes up by 2. I believe. Okay. So let's just say preview. Wait, there's no way that's right, right? This tier 0? Oh my god. This game is so pay to win. I didn't even realize, even during the CBT, how absurd this pricing is. You're telling me, okay, no, surely it's just 10 more, right? No, it isn't. I'm pretty sure it isn't. That is so fucked. When we go here and we want to preview the advance, it's 80 purple mats. There's no way it's 80. There's no way. There's no way. There's actually no way it's 80 mats. That is so absurd. That cannot be right. That cannot be right. Let me just test here, right? We look here, advance 14, 16, 18, 20. For the